Michelangelo's creation of Adam is one of the most iconic images in Western art. Painted between 1508 and 1512 on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, it is usually understood as depicting the biblical moment when God imparts life to Adam. But Michelangelo was far more than just a talented painter. He was a sculptor, an anatomist, and, more importantly, a master of the symbolic language that animates our religious and mythological heritage. When you look closely at this beautiful fresco, it becomes clear that he encoded something far deeper than a simple biblical scene. He left behind a map, a portrayal of the ancient process of awakening the human nervous system, the same process described in Vedic, Taoist and esoteric traditions as the rising of Kundalini and the release of the sacred fluid from the head centre, a process that unlocks our full human, physiological and psychic potential. In 1990, physician Frank Meshberger proposed that the red drapery surrounding God forms the shape of a mid-sagittal section of the human brain. When you compare the fresco to actual anatomy, the alignment is astonishing. God's posture mirrors the brainstem. His sweeping left arm follows the curve of the corpus callosum, with a wrist matching the splenium. The feminine figure beneath his arm, Sophia, or the feminine wisdom of God in Gnostic terms, sits exactly where the third ventricle would be. A cherub's head aligns with the pituitary gland. A dark recess near Sophia's breast corresponds to the pineal gland. The triangular gap between God's legs resembles the fourth ventricle, and the green ribbon-like flash flowing from the centre of the symbolic brain has been interpreted as the vertebral artery. Michelangelo dissected cadavers in his youth. He knew anatomy intimately, so it is very doubtful that any of this is coincidental. But the anatomical layer is only the beginning. Look at Adam's posture. His heel is drawn inward toward the perineum, a subtle but deliberate and powerful position. This same posture appears in Vedic iconography and on the Gundastrup cauldron, where deities sit in poses that stimulate the Gunda Mama point from Vedic energy work teachings, or the Hui Yin point in Taoist inner alchemy. This is the root gateway associated with awakening the head centre. Now look at God's left hand. His index finger touches the lower neck of a cherub, just above the clavicle. This is the Qi Shi point from Eastern tradition, the abode of Qi. Sophia's finger rests on the Ku Chi point, another major energy centre on the upper forearm. These placements are too precise to be dismissed as accidental. Here, Michelangelo is highlighting pressure points used in acupressure and energy work to stimulate the nervous system and circulate the body's bioelectric force, the Qi or the Chi. As a sculptor, he would have known these particular points intimately. Hours of chiselling marble would have left his arms aching and stiff. Pressure on these areas releases tension and sends energy flowing through the nerve channels. So he wasn't just painting anatomy, he was painting his very own personal experience with the creative force. Now return to the green flash inside the brain. Anatomically, some say it is the vertebral artery. However, many ancient traditions describe a sacred fluid released from the head during the powerful energetic awakening known familiarly as Kundalini. In the Vedic texts, this fluid is called Amrita, the nectar of immortality, and in Taoist internal alchemy it is known as Kan Lu, or the sweet dew. In Greek myth, it is Ambrosia, the very food of the gods. In Norse lore, it can be seen as the mead of poetry. In the biblical teachings, it is the manna from heaven, or the Christ oil. Christ himself says that he is the manna from heaven. Different names, same idea. A regenerative, illuminating substance that leaks from the head centre. Yogic texts describe this fluid descending through the nasal cavity, I suspect via the cribriform plate, a porous bone at the base of the skull. To support this idea, we can look at modern studies showing that dyes can indeed move between the cerebrospinal fluid and the nasal passages. The pathway exists. Michelangelo's green flash may be his way of depicting this sacred release. The moment the inner eye opens and the heavenly waters flow. Another subtle detail is Adam's underdeveloped genitalia. This is no mistake. Western art is replete with gods and heroes depicted with modest proportions in the reproductive region. The ancients understood the power of conserving our creative energy. Semen retention strengthens the nervous system, heightens awareness, and fuels the spiritual and energetic ascent that initiates the breakthrough at the head centre. Michelangelo, steeped and long marinated in the symbolic tradition, encoded this teaching directly into Adam's body. He is showing us the importance of preserving the life force when approaching the divine. The hands of God and Adam have captivated viewers for centuries. Their fingers can be interpreted as forming the Shin sign, a gesture resembling the Hebrew letter Shin, symbolising the fire of life, the life force, the creative force. This hand position is an ideal form for sustained acupressure to the abdomen and for leveraging the pubic symphysis and applying pressure to the aforementioned energy centres at the perineum. Practices vital to the initial release of the sacred force from the hips. Adam's right hand is also shown in a posture ideal for deep self-massage, with the index and middle knuckles extended, perfect for releasing tension in the larger muscles like the quadriceps, the biceps and the glutes. Finally, and perhaps most tellingly, both God and Adam display a distinct gap between the big and second toe, a subtle but ancient marker of sovereignty, energetic freedom, and a nervous system that is not collapsed, constrained, or oppressed. Artists across cultures used this small anatomical detail to signal a being whose life force flows clearly and whose movement is self-directed and self-governed. It is a symbol of an awakened individual. When you bring all of this together, the anatomical precision, the energetic points, the sacred fluid, the symbolic gestures, the heel to perineum posture, the emphasis on creative energy, and the general symbolism of the image, humanity being touched by the divine, a powerful picture begins to emerge. Michelangelo wasn't simply illustrating the creation of humanity, he was depicting the awakening of the human nervous system, the opening of the inner eye, the release of the sacred waters, and the ascent of the life force from the root at the hips to the crown of the head. He encoded the ancient mystery school teachings of the East and the West into a single fresco, a didactic manual for unlocking the full potential of the human body, mind, and soul. And please be aware that I am not suggesting he did this because he knew the exact science of Kundalini or Taoist inner alchemy, but because he understood the subtler workings of the human body as well as its anatomy. He understood energy, and he understood symbolism. The human body is energetically similar no matter where we are born on this beautiful planet of ours. Michelangelo's creation of Adam is not just a masterpiece of art, it is a map, a guide, a reminder of the sacred force within us, just waiting to be reawakened after our long, induced slumber. The same force that opens our intuition, sharpens our inner sight, reconnects us to the divine, and reasserts our predetermined, ancestral, energetic birthright.